Hi there, and welcome to this day in history for July 11th. July 11th is the 192nd day of the year in the Gregorian calendar, 193rd in leap years, with 173 days remaining to the end of the year. Today's word is obsequious. Obsequious is an adjective that means marked by or exhibiting a fawning attentiveness, typically in an attempt to court favor by behaving in an excessively servile or fawning behavior, in a cringing or flattering manner, often to a humorous or sinister extent. Think of Eddie Haskell from Leave It to Beaver, or Pinky from Pinky and the Brain, or Gollum or Wormtongue from the Hobbit Lord of the Rings trilogy. The word obsequious comes to us through Middle English, originally from a Latin word that was composed of parts that meant toward and to follow. First known use of the word obsequious is in 1602, obsequious. Today's word obsequious was suggested by YouTube viewer Troy Brinson. Thanks, Troy. I gotta say, the first thing I always think of when I hear the word obsequious is the first time I heard it in a song that Steve Martin did at one of his acts back in, I believe, the 70s. I found a version of it on YouTube and have placed a link to it in the description. And if you have a word you'd like us to examine in this Word of the Day segment, drop it in the comments. We'll get it on the list. And with that, mathematical calculation suggests that it was on July 11th in 1735 that Pluto moved inside the orbit of Neptune for the last time before 1979. This is the birthday of James Abbott McNeill Whistler, born July 11th, 1834. He's best known for a painting of his mother. The painting is actually called Arrangement in Gray and Black, No. 1. But most people call it Whistler's mother. And it's not that he was obsessed with his mom. He had scheduled a model who hadn't shown up, so he painted his mother instead. Whistler lived to the age of 69. This is the birthday of Richard Stephen Sambora, born July 11th, 1959 in New Jersey. We know him better as musician and songwriter Richie Sambora, most notably of the group Bon Jovi. Richie began playing the accordion when he was 6 and the guitar when he was 12 following the death of Jimi Hendrix. He first performed on stage when he was a teenager. He joined Bon Jovi in 1983 and stayed with the band until 2013 when he left to spend more time with his family, particularly his daughter. Richie Sambora was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a member of Bon Jovi in 2018, and I see 25 albums listed in his discography, solo, with Bon Jovi, and also with other artists. Happy birthday, Richie Sambora. The book To Kill a Mockingbird was published on this date in 1960. This is a book that almost didn't happen. After she moved to New York in 1949, the author, Harper Lee, had started writing anecdotes about her life in the South, but they just weren't coming together to her satisfaction. In 1957, in a fit of frustration, she threw her manuscript out the window of her apartment. Fortunately, she thought better of that decision and went down and retrieved the pages and started over, ultimately resulting in the book To Kill a Mockingbird. Published in 1960, the book won a Pulitzer Prize for Fiction in 1961. This novel has sold more than 300 million copies since it was published and has been translated into 40 languages. Since the book's publication, Harper Lee's hometown, Monroeville, Alabama, has become a popular destination for literary tourists, as Monroeville was hometown to Harper Lee and Truman Capote. The county museum there has displays about both of those authors, and it does sound like a fun trip. Let me know if you've ever been to Monroeville to see the To Kill a Mockingbird sights, displays, and memorabilia. Now we have a playlist of episodes for this day in history, as well as a playlist of single subjects called How About That? And words of the day, and a playlist called There's a Word for That. And I'll leave links to those playlists for you. Today's song is Living on a Prayer by Bon Jovi. Written by band members John Bon Jovi, Richie Sambora, and Desmond Child, Living on a Prayer was released in October of 1986 on the album Slippery When Wet, and also as a single. This song about a struggling young couple is another case of a situation where the artist didn't like the song at first. Bon Jovi didn't like the original recording of Living on a Prayer and wanted to scrap it. Richie Sambora convinced him that it was a good song, and they reworked it for release. Glad they did. Living on a Prayer reached the #1 spot on the Billboard Hot 100 in February of 1987, where it remained for 7 weeks. Living on a Prayer by Bon Jovi. Link in the description. Alrighty, thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share this video with a link in your email, messaging, or social media. If you enjoy this series, you can check out the playlist that contains these videos. I'll put a link to that in the description. That description lives on YouTube, so for other platforms, I'll include a link to my blog page that's called No Really. You can also find me on Rumble, BitChute, and Odyssey. All those links in that description. Alrighty, that's all I can think of right now. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Alrighty, back to work. I think we got it this time.